Today I'm talking about a movie that has unironically became one of my favorites of all time. Okay, maybe one of my favorite 90s movie. Okay, maybe one of my favorite SOV movie. Maybe my favorite SOV movie from 94 about a crazed maniac who stabs people with needles filled with AIDS blood. It's LA AIDS Jabber.
Welcome to the AIDS Card Carrying Club.
Yes, LA AIDS Jabber is a film from 1994, the peak 90s, about a man who goes crazy after he got revealed that he had AIDS. And the way he copes with that announcement is that he will infect the people who wronged him in the past with HIV. Now, maybe my sense of humor is a bit messed up, but anytime the word AIDS is yelled, I kind of laugh. So the film starts with a scene that we can barely see because not only does SOV movies look like crap when they're shot at night, they look even worse. So much so that the girlfriend of our main character, Jeff, well, I'm not even sure if it's the same actress when we see her later on in the film. And they talk about their relationship and you can see that Jeff really wants the sex. But he can't do the sex, A, because the girl doesn't want to because they're in a car in LA, that's never a good idea, and second of all because his tummy hurts. And she really wants him to go see the doctor, but he's like, come on, it's probably just a stomach infection, you know my diet isn't the best, and I mean, no American's diet is the best. If you say the contrary, I've been in the States last week and I've ate Bojangles and fried chicken for breakfast and lunch and dinner. Okay, that was my fault, but still, American diets aren't the best. Until he finally has some cramps and he gets really upset, and that will be a theme in this film, is that Jeff doesn't really have patience, and he gets upset fairly quickly.
No, goddammit, just take me home! Get going now!
The next day, he finally decides to go see a doctor, and the doctor announces him the bad news. You see, he's got AIDS. And he doesn't take the news well because, as I said, motherfucker's got anger issues for days. The doctor is of course worried, so he tells his nurse that he's making out with that she should really call him to give him names of psychiatrists, psychologists, people like that who can help him in, you know, when he's dealing with the fact that he has AIDS. When he comes back home from the doctor, he gets pretty upset and he puts a gun to his mouth, but then receives a call from his work buddy who tells him that he should really be coming back because it's been a 3-hour break and the boss will get upset, and that's exactly what happens. Jeff goes back to work and the boss man yells at him for being, you know, late 3 hours, which is understandable, but at the same time the boss is kind of a dickhead. And then later on, when Jeff and his friend are just talking, the boss comes back and tells him that he's fired for goofing off too much. Yes, that's apparently a good reason to fire someone for goofing off. The way Jeff copes with that news is that he gets even more upset and then he decides to take revenge on people who wronged him by giving them the AIDS.
Oh, come here, let me cut you. It's like...
And his first victim will be a prostitute he slept with 6 months ago who apparently gave him AIDS. Even though if she gave him AIDS, that means she already has the AIDS. So if he goes to infect her with the AIDS, wouldn't that do nothing? Because, as I said, she's already got the HIV. I'm no doctor, but I'm not sure how that works. Somebody will comment on this. Let me know if somebody with AIDS can get AIDS back. Is it like 2 times AIDS? Is it like a combo, like in Street Fighter, you get the mega AIDS? So he calls the prostitute and he's like, yo, let's quickie for $100. And she's like, oh, of course, whatever. And then he stabs her with the AIDS needle and we get my favorite line of dialogue. Here it is.
Welcome to the AIDS Card Carrying Club.
The first time I heard that, I think I pissed my pants from laughing. We then meet the cops who will follow along throughout the entire film. Well, one of the cops, the lady cop, I think her name is Stephanie, I don't know. They're kind of important because the film somehow goes back to like a police procedure thing, which is kind of the movie's only downfall, is that we follow the cops way too much. I don't want cops, I want Jeff angry at people yelling about them having AIDS. But whatever, we meet the cops, they talk to the prostitute, and they're kind of gonna try to keep this story under wraps, but of course, this is the 90s, well, this is just LA, so a journalist a reporter will try to uncover the case. And the way she discovers that case is because her mulleted boyfriend has like a radio scanner that somehow receives cell phone bands, and as soon as like the cop calls the other cops to tell them about another victim of the AIDS jabber, he's like right on time and they can hear the entire conversation on the cell phone. I don't know how that works. I'm not gonna question a movie called LA AIDS jabber for like little nitpicky details like that. Jesus Christ, it's a movie about Jeff going on an AIDS giving spree. And of course, the reporter calls the police for more information, and they try to make a deal with her while still trying to keep the story under wraps, but she doesn't want anything to do with that. She wants to tell the truth to the people because they deserve to know that there's a maniac with AIDS needles stabbing people and giving them the HIV. And that's exactly what she does, which puts her on Jeff's hit list because she just told everybody that he's going crazy and that there's an AIDS jabber around.
You think that's gonna stop me, lady? You just got put on the hit list in the top slot.
And yes, Jeff literally has a hit list that he even writes on in front of his work buddy, and his work buddy doesn't question anything, even though he says pretty loudly that he's putting the boss on his hit list. And this movie reminds me a lot of 555, but if it wasn't so boring, where you have this news lady who kind of talks like the news lady in 555, who wants to discover what's happening, and then you have the police who try to hide what's happening, and then you have a police chief who yells a lot. Although I have to admit that the police chief who yells a lot isn't as good as the one in 555, because that man knew how to fucking overact. And then, past the middle of the film, we get an announcement that the main cop that was with Stephanie, the lady cop, just fucking died. And I think that what actually happened, because it doesn't make any sense, is that the actor read the rest of the script and was like, do I really want my legacy as an actor to be LA AIDS jabber? And that's totally understandable. Even though I love this film, I can see why, as an actor who wants to be taken seriously, this might be a little iffy for you. But at the same time, if he really walked out of production, I don't respect that. The man was hired to do a job and he needs to finish his job. If I was the real LA AIDS jabber, I would have stuck him with a HIV needle. Jeff also almost gets caught by the police one night because he gets into a tussle with just random people on the street. My light died, I gave her AIDS. So yeah, he gets into a tussle, which doesn't end well for the people that are on the tussle with him, because of course Jeff's only defense mechanism is to stuck people with HIV needles. And then the cops find the people, and then they find Jeff, but he runs away because he's way too clever. I mean, AIDS doesn't affect your brains. I don't know really anything about AIDS. By the way, I'm not a doctor. That should be obvious at this point on my channel, but I'm not a doctor. The next day, for some reason, Jeff is walking and then he gets solicited by a psychic who tells him that she'll read his future, blah blah blah. For some reason, even though he doesn't have money, and I don't think Jeff is the type of fella to believe a psychic, but he still goes through with it. And the entire time she has this fake like Eastern European accent, and I was waiting for her to say, "And sir, you have AIDS." She just tells him that he's an angry young man, he hasn't solved issues, that's pretty much obvious, and everything, because the truth hurts, just pisses Jeff off. He fucking wipes the cards off, and I was really expecting him to just stab this innocent psychic with the AIDS needle, but he doesn't, which shows that he might actually have morals. Except he doesn't, because later on he just stabs an old lady and steals her purse. Bitch. And of course, in between that, we have dialogue with the police and then the newscaster, blah blah blah. None of that is important. We're all here for what the title promises, which is LA and AIDS jabbing, so let's not care about the police and the media outlet. Let's just concentrate on Jeff, who goes full Jeff. As I said, he stabs an old lady, steals her purse, goes back home, hears about it on the news, and then takes on the number of the news lady and calls her and threatens her that he's gonna stab her with the AIDS needle. And you know how the media lady reacts? She's just like, probably prank call. And then when the police comes to her house and tells her that they could give her protection, she's like, no, I don't need protection. I've been, you know, in the streets, the most dangerous places on earth, And all of that makes me think, Jesus Christ, you're a newscaster at a local TV station. You haven't been to fucking Baghdad. Calm down there, lady. So eventually, after a while, Jeff finally gets his revenge on his dirty, naughty boss. By that I mean he sticks him with a needle and then just hits him over the head with his telephone, which actually kills him, which makes this man the first actual victim of Jeff, because spoiler alert, Jeff doesn't actually have the HIV. If you wanted to see the movie makes it pretty obvious. Kind of. There's a couple weird plot holes about that, but let's not worry about that. It's Elliot's jabber, come on. All of this leads to the police finally figuring out that Jeff is the killer. Oh no. Is this where Jeff the Killer comes from? Oh. Was the creator of Jeff the Killer a big Elliot's Jabber fan? If yes, I have way more respect for that person than I used to. And when the police get to Jeff's apartment, we get my favorite scene where they're basically figuring out everything, and then to escape, Jeff takes a fire extinguisher, sprays in the face of the police, the cop is like, whoa, and then Jeff runs away. That scene is Kino. Beautiful. Then Jeff tries to kill the news lady, but the news lady tries to get him with emotions, and eventually the police show up, he runs away, he gets shot, and of course it is now revealed that he didn't actually have the HIV, which is weird because they say, oh, the lab that he originally went to messed up. But everybody who got stabbed with the AIDS needle was sent their blood to a lab, and all of them came back positive to the police. So there's a bit of a hole there. Like, if he didn't have AIDS, why were all the tests that were made after and in different lab, you know, the police lab, where would those be positive if he didn't have the HIV? But we're not watching Elliot's Jabber for small details like that. We're watching it for the glorious Jeff being angry, yelling about AIDS, and then stabbing people.
I'm sure you are.
So, what did I think of Elliot's Jabber? I fucking love it. You guys already know. This is... If you follow me on Letterboxd, by the way, it's gonna be under the screen. You already know. This is a 10 out of 10. I don't give ratings on this channel usually, but goddamn, it's a 10 out of 10. This is the perfect fucking movie. Now, of course it's not perfect, but what it does offer is so much fun and so much absurdity, especially if you have a weird sense of humor like me. And add to that the fact that the first time I saw this, I was drinking, so that made it even better, and I was texting my friends about every piece of dialogue that Jeff was yelling about having AIDS. Will everybody love this movie as much as I do? Absolutely not. I think that the majority of people, the consensus is that this movie is fucking awful, which, it's not great. Technically, it's terrible. At least it sounds good, so that's better than a lot of indie underground movies. So at least they used a microphone, and I know they did because you can see it in some shots. But what it does offer is just some priceless dialogue. Even the police procedure things are like kind of boring, but I really like them because they remind me of just every SOV movie with police officers where they were just really just courtroom dramas or police dramas, and then you throw in a random guy stabbing people with an AIDS needle. To me, this movie's glorious. This is unironically one of my favorite movies of all time. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys later.